just the month of May has started off stellar. Like, I'm a huge fan of the month of May from a racing perspective. It's my favorite month of the year for racing. The Kentucky Derby kicks off. You got F1 here in America. You got obviously the Cup race, the truck race in Kansas. Like, you couldn't have asked for a better first weekend of racing across the board.
How was the F1 race? Obviously, we didn't get
Well, here's the problem with F1.
Missed the whole thing.
If you watch them side by side, F1 sucks. Like, if you legitimately say NASCAR sucks, I'm an F1 fan, and you put them up side by side and you watch them side by side, I don't know how you can support your argument, because the only thing that was exciting was watching Verstappen outbreak people driving from, I think he started ninth to finish first. At one point, he had an 18-second lead. There was zero racing on the racetrack. And then in the Cup race, you had the exact opposite playing out. You had comers and goers all day. You had guys spinning out on their own all day. And obviously, we had an exciting finish. So I don't know how anybody can argue with me when I say, if you watch them side by side, the F1 race sucked.
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because you or whoever was managing the Couch Racer account quote tweeted this, but Adam Stern tweeted Gunther Steiner when looking at the rate.
Gunther. That's Gunther.
No. When looking at the ratings, NASCAR is still number one at the moment, but IndyCar is falling behind. If we continue to do a good job, F1 can become the dominant motorsport discipline in the United States. What do you guys think?
I mean, what's he supposed to say? He's not going to say, yeah, we're going to get our ass kicked by NASCAR. Listen, I mean, there's a good possibility that they challenge our ratings numbers this week just for the fact that they were on network television and we were on FS1.
And it's new still, too.
Yeah, and
it only happened Miami.
And I saw people yesterday tweeting like, well, you know, the race started 20 minutes after the Cup race and it was over by stage 2. Yeah, you know why? Because if somebody had to sit through 4 hours of that boring nobody would watch it. Listen. And what I will say is their announcers do a great job of making you think something's happening. Like they're almost like our MRN or PRN announcers. Like they make it exciting when there's really nothing going on.
Most of their excitement comes from the strategy calls too.
Yeah,
you know, they pump up a strategy.
Yeah, they like
what's this guy doing for tires?
They have really good graphics where they're like, if this actually plays out perfectly, this guy might get within 3 seconds of this guy by the end of the race. It's just I've watched it. I think Formula One's great. I enjoy watching it, but I don't think there's any way it takes over as the dominant sport in America.
If I'm NASCAR, I take offense to this guy saying this, and I take my gloves off and I'm swinging. Like you're redoing your TV contract. So why don't you sign it up with a company that's willing to put you on network more versus a company that's not? Because that helps your sponsors, it helps your teams, it helps your drivers, it helps your growth. But also, I'm going to take that and I'm going to say, you know what, y'all can kiss my ass. I'm going international. I'm going to take the NASCAR product to Canada and Mexico next year. And the following year, I'm going overseas because we had success when we went to Japan. And there is no way that you can tell me that we can't go to some of these tracks, whether they're F1 or ovals or whatever, and make a big splash. Now, do we need to be racing internationally every weekend? No. But getting to Canada is pretty easy. Getting to Mexico is pretty easy. And then do one race overseas. I think NASCAR has more opportunity for growth in the U.S. right now than F1. But we got to do it right. I mean, there was a time when 10 million people were watching every single Cup race, and 30-plus million people were tuning into the Daytona 500. We're not there right now. We're at about 2.5 million viewers to 4 million viewers, depending on what channel we're on. But there's no reason why we can't make things hot again.
The model is right there in front of you. It's that Netflix show. That's all there is to it. Like, Netflix brought attention. That's the only reason people care about Formula One
in America.
It's the same reason why anybody cared about golf this year, because that same idea came out about golf. You know, I had numerous people, like their buddies of mine, run a pool for the Masters, and they doubled their entries because people were like, oh yeah, I know these guys now because I watched them on that Full Swing documentary. So it's like, that's all you need to do. Like, Bubba's show was great, but you need to do that broader across more teams like they do. Like, basically the Drive to Survive one is an episode per team. So, you know, like, just that's there. It's right there for you. Just figure out a way to do that and you'll draw way more interest.
Have you seen the preview for the show Dirt on FS1?
Yes.
I haven't. I've heard about it. I haven't seen it.
Yes.
Have you seen the trailer for it? Well, I'm going to tell you what, man. It looks very well done. And it looks like it's going to be good. It's basically behind the scenes in the dirt world. And I can tell you right now, I'm going to watch it. Guess when it runs? At 7 o'clock.
Casey in it?
We put out one last year on USA Network that ran at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So how are we not more in touch with what actually needs to happen and what network it needs to be on. Because USA Network at 10 o'clock ain't it.
I couldn't even tell you what channel USA is.
Me either.
Like number wise.
Me
You know
either.
what I mean?
I
Like,
have no idea. No.
I mean, I know area you could find it, but I couldn't tell you right now. What channel
Julie
it
doesn't
is.
have numbers, so I can't tell you what it is either. So
I mean, do you guys think that's the reason why so many celebrities showed up to Miami?
They're just going for a party.
yeah, it's Miami.
It's Miami. It's Miami.
for-
You know.
Yeah,
I mean,
but they would go to Austin.
Okay,
But it's like
I said, it's a party.
but it's a once a year thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, once they get a couple big names and they go and hey, these people are going. You want to go? Yeah, I'm going to go too. Then it's
the elitist hanging out with the elitists is basically all that is.
do they go to Monaco for a great race?
I did see. How about I saw this morning? Was it George Russell complaining that he had to stand in the sun for 30 minutes because a pre-race was taking?
Yeah, there was a
forever?
lot of them. There was a whole.
He said, "I'd
article
like to
written.
see another sport have to do that." Okay, bud, come to a race every week. Hang out with us.
There was a whole article written on that. Did you
Really?
see it?
I just saw one quote tweet. dude.
No, there's a whole article written. Eric Jones actually tweeted about it and said this is a hilarious read or whatever, and it has a lot of the drivers. There was like the minority was definitely this was cool to go out there and be announced. Like I guess there was some big when they announced the drivers. They were. Did you see it?
No.
They did some bit like driver intro. They did a bigger driver intro, kind of like what we do every week. And most of them are like, I just want to go to my car, talk to my engineers, get in there and race. So,
Too bad.
yeah.